Sorry all you Mighty Ducks fans, Gordon Bombay is a racist, misogynistic, sociopathic scumbag. In order to understand this indisputable fact, we have to go back to the beginning to see how this monster was created. It all started with a 1973 Minnesota State Pee Wee Championship game. With the game on the line, little Gordy whipped out his patented triple deke and rang one off the bar to lose it for the District 6 Hawks. Coach Jack Riley is the Bud Kilmer of minor hockey coaches, and it takes every bit of his energy to not break the stick over Gordon's butch-goring, helmeted head. This traumatic event triggered a lifetime of narcissistic, destructive behavior for Gordon Bombay. Fast forward 20 years. Bombay is a successful, arrogant Minneapolis defense attorney who gives zero fucks about anything other than himself. Here he is driving hammered in shitty weather while crushing pints and listening to shitty 90s punk alternative. He clearly doesn't give a shit. Even after getting pulled over, he tries to big-time the officer by not even turning down his music and joking about the situation. The judge is all too happy to teach Bombay a lesson and slaps him with 500 community hours coaching the less than stellar District 5 Pee Wee hockey team. Bombay shows up at practice, which is on an outdoor pond for some reason, in a vintage 80s limo he probably bought from Scott Baio, and drives out onto the pond, endangering the lives of the children. He then proceeds to tell them how sick his hair is, how shitty their poverty-stricken lives are, and that he's only there because of a court order. After their first game, Bombay berates Jesse and Terry Hall, the two black kids on the team. He even nicknames their line the Oreo line because he's a racist fuck. Jesse Hall is the team's best player and leader at this point in the franchise, but Bombay will do everything in his power to change that. Hall is phased out of the franchise before D3. During their second game, Gordon's obsession with winning and feeding his ego takes over, and he begins to teach the players how to cheat and lie their way to victory. Sweet little Charlie Conway knows deep down that this is immoral, and he's stuck at the bottom of the power dynamic. God bless Charlie, as he ultimately doesn't give in to Bombay's tactics, but ends up on the wrong end of Bombay's verbal abuse and ridicule. Bombay smells blood in the water with Charlie and decides to hatch the next part of his plan. Understanding that Charlie's father is out of the picture, and he and his mother are vulnerable, Bombay decides to take advantage of the situation to get Charlie to persuade the team to follow Bombay's apocalyptic path to victory. Bombay butters Charlie up, manipulating him with stories of his own past childhood woes, and pumps him for information on how to get into his mom's panties. Bombay weasels his way into Charlie's life, even inviting himself over for dinner. Charlie's mom gets home from working a double for minimum wage and unwanted ass grabs, and finds Bombay with an ugly fucking sweater in her dining room. Charlie, desperate for a father figure, gives Bombay tips. Bombay gives Charlie the old, "Relax, kid. I've fucked more vulnerable women in my day than you've had hot meals." Bombay's ploy with Charlie works, and he begins getting his team in shape. While his Mickey Mouse drills that he stole from Peter Puck's Learn to Play Hockey book for beginner coaches actually works, and his gear embezzled from his former employer gives his team some visual credibility, he still knows he's got a dog's breakfast in nets. We all know the saying, "Show me a good coach and I'll show you a better goalie." Well, this isn't lost on Bombay. To make matters worse, his only goalie option is of Jewish faith, which he can't stand. He takes his anti-Semitic rage out on the Ducks' only goalie, Greg Goldberg, using an Eddie Shore tactic of crucifying him to the net and making his own friends pound him relentlessly with shots despite his desperate cries for help. Bombay's sadism knows no bounds. Knowing that his team still sucks and that he can't beat his old rival Coach Riley with what he's got, Bombay decides to get a little crafty and uses a district zoning technicality to rob the Hawks of their best player, Adam Banks. The unsuspecting preteen Banks gets pulled aside from having fun with his lifelong friends and told that his life is about to get ripped apart because some egotistical loser wants to get a leg up on an old rival at the expense of children and innocent recreation. Bombay revels in this mini-victory over Coach Riley and walks away without ever giving two fucks about the trauma he's just inflicted. Gordon Bombay isn't just a narcissistic, racist, misogynistic, anti-Semitic asshole, he's also a sexist. In D2, Gordon Bombay heads up Team USA as they descend upon the Junior Goodwill Games as the heavy favorite. We already know Bombay hates Greg Goldberg because of his Jewish faith, but we now find out that his hate for women is even stronger as he takes out his ire on Julie the Cat Gaffney. Gaffney is the clear-cut better goalie, but Bombay plants her on the bench for almost the entire tournament, only bringing her in when he knows he desperately needs her in order to win. When she confronts him about it, he tells her his hands are tied because Goldberg is the hot goalie, knowing full well that Goldberg is a bag of flaming dog shit between the pipes. So bad, in fact, Coach Orion, an actual coach, who has a soul and cares about developing human beings, recognizes Goldberg's shortcomings and moves him out of the net in D3. When things aren't going well for Gordon Bombay, we know he'll do whatever it takes to turn the tides in his favor. That includes manipulating and using women. We saw it with Charlie and his mom in D1, and we see it again in D2 when he uses the Iceland team trainer to pump her for inside information and to rattle his coaching counterpart, Wolf the Dentist Stanson. When he gets caught red-handed employing this shady tactic by his own players, who disapprove of his underhandedness, Bombay morphs into the love child of Pat Riley and Herb Brooks and unleashes his tyrannical ire on the Ducks, breaking down their will with bag skating and stern looks. When Charlie tries to talk some sense into him, Bombay reminds Charlie, who gave his mom the clap. Don't be fooled, folks. Gordon Bombay is a scumbag.